If you're anything like me, the very first thing you did in Elden Ring after climbing up out of the ground and seeing this vista for the first time was to run directly at the only thing that was moving. And this, of course, is a tree sentinel, a massive mounted combatant that will literally smear your guts out all over the floor and not think anything of it. It took me well over an hour, maybe even 2, to get my very first kill on this guy. But man, did it feel good. It was much later that I found out that those aren't the only mounted combatants that we will find in this world. Coming out only at night, the Knight's Cavalry patrols many of the roads in Elden Ring. However, after beating them up dozens of times in my hundreds of hours of gameplay, I've started to notice a few patterns and some oddities that each of the Knight's Cavalry exhibit. And today, we're gonna be cheesing the living crap out of every single one in the game. If you would like to follow along at home, the only thing you really need is a way of applying a status effect to an enemy, namely poison or rot. To do that, I'm using poison and rot arrows with the serpent bow. Serpent bow scales with arcane, so it means we're going to be applying those status effects a little bit faster. However, you could use throwing knives, you could use the dragon spells, you could use the poison mist spell, really anything you want to. Any way of applying status to an enemy will work. However, I will say that the bow is probably the easiest. We're going to start things off with the Knight's Cavalry at the Castle Morn Rampart, located here on the map. This location is actually pretty unique. There is a horse jump nearby, allowing the player to gain a lot of altitude, actually intended to grab a shield on the very top of that castle tower. However, if we land on top of the wall and dismount early, we can use this area to grab the attention of the Knight's Cavalry. You have to dismount early because the player is not intended to be up here, so you'd be stuck on your horse if you move all the way to the end. The Knight's Cavalry will try to find any way possible to get up to you, checking any side paths that may help him to gain some elevation. However, this Knight Cavalry in particular gave up pretty fast once he saw that there was no way he was ever going to reach me. Literally standing still, completely unresponsive, and letting me just shoot him in the head until he died. Now, we already had status effects on him. We could have sat here very patiently, not doing anything, and just let that damage pile up. But we sped up the process a little bit this time. Our next target is the Knight's Cavalry that patrols this bridge in the center of Limgrave. I followed the coast on the southern side of this mountaintop. It's basically right above the big lake in this area. And as I started combat with the Knight's Cavalry this time, he just kind of stood still and let me shoot him. I don't know why this is, but I actually managed to get the poison status built up on his horse and not on the knight themselves. They have 2 different health bars. Make sure you're landing your shots on the human and not the horse. Now, that being said, this status effect was actually useful because as the Knight Cavalry goes to engage in combat, well, he jumped down onto a ledge and was stuck here. But only for a little while. Eventually, he fell down to the river, taking no damage at all, and the only way I was able to track his location was with the damage numbers that we saw on the horse that was poisoned from those early shots. Now, this fight just keeps getting weirder. He would periodically walk up to the cliff underneath me so I could get more shots in to build up that status. But then he also just reset, just teleported, phased out of existence, and then back in on the very top of the bridge. Now, you may think that this would ruin my strategy, but the real strength of this location is actually the rock I'm standing on. Yes, the Knight's Cavalry does get one hit in, but that'll be the only one. Its sweeping attack actually goes underneath the rock, so we're totally safe from it. He has one vertical swing that I have to sidestep every now and then, but eventually he just falls right back into the same pit, and history repeats itself. Luckily for us, this time he does have poison on him, so it's only a matter of time before he dies. Just for good measure, before his final moments in combat, he runs away yet again, just to be transported up top and shot with an arrow. Man, arrow tracking in this game is really bad. Has anyone ever noticed that? It's, whoa, whew. Next, we're going to be heading almost directly east, this time into Caelid. On the left side of the road that this Knight Cavalry patrols, there is a large tree with these pink flower buds laying at the base of it. We can actually climb up onto this tree. I discovered this, in fact, on the Elden Ring wiki when I was doing research for our previous playthrough. Someone went into great detail showing how to do this exact cheese. All I have to do is get on this last little branch right here, and then everything should be good to go. There is absolutely no way that this Cavalry Knight can get to me at all. Each of these knights that we've taken down seem to have a bit of a different personality. Look how this one is not trying to get any closer to me, but is instead just moving back and forth, dodging all of my shots because he knows I can't aim to save my life. With enough practice and enough time, I do get used to the timing on using the weapon art specifically, and I'm able to catch him on these corners. Eventually, poison sets in, and it seems like he realizes it's all just a waste of time. I thought it was pretty cool to show this kill off because this is actually what sparked my investigation into this boss. There's one more Cavalry Knight inside of Caelid, and it's located at the northeastern bridge. That bridge is important because we're going to use it to kill him. Going north from the bonfire, heading towards the bridge, we're actually looking for two small ledges on either side of the main walkway. There are a few different ways to get down to this. You can either jump on top with your horse like I did and just walk off. You can also climb this tree on the right to give you a little bit better of an angle of getting down onto the ledge. Doesn't really matter how you get down there. The point is we're trying to use this small space to convince the boss to jump towards us and off the other side of the rail. No matter how many times I tried to do this, it never quite worked out. Not to mention the times I just fell off on my own and died. I probably tried this trick 30 plus times, and each time you failed, you had to wait through a loading screen. You had to pass time again, which was another loading screen. It was starting to get a little tiresome. However, I was going back to reset, and I missed my jump this time. The boss, of course, missed his jump too. I'll take it. Moving out of rot-infested Caelid, more towards the tranquil Liurnia of the lakes, there is another Knights Cavalry by the Gatetown Bridge. This one took me a little bit of time to figure out, but the answer was actually right under my nose the entire time. The rock closest to the Knights Cavalry can be used to escape his grasp most of the time. However, sometimes things just don't go the right way and he runs directly at you. Luckily, this strategy has a quick, easy escape plan. You just roll off the side. He takes forever to find you because he can't take these tight turns, and then you reset back up at the top. Now, I will say this area feels less like a cheese and more like a legitimate strategy because the boss can land one vertical swing against you if you're not standing in the right spot. And every now and then he does figure out a way to actually get back on top of the rock that you were on. However, most of his time is spent running around in circles, looking for the ramp at the beginning. And then if he does find the ramp in the beginning, he actually suffers from a lot of the same horse mechanics that we do in tight spaces, where he just tries to accelerate and then can't turn and then falls off the other side of this small platform, only to repeat it again. Now, looking to the north, there is one more in this zone located at the East Rea Lucaria Gate. This is actually a place you get teleported to outside of the Academy. Running northeast from the bonfire puts you on a direct collision course with the Knights Cavalry. This was actually my first attempt on this particular boss fight, and I decided that these ruins over here actually look like a pretty good spot. I was just testing this out. I actually didn't think that this would be high enough, and then the boss reset. So I poisoned him And then after he was poisoned, I started shooting rot arrows at him too. I mean, why not? We might as well speed up the process here. Oh, it looks like he's back on the hunt. He's noticed something has been irritating him slightly. He comes in for a horizontal swing and finds nothing. Only to run back and reset again. By the way, this particular knight drops one of the... Oh god, he's on the high ground! He drops one of the best strength scaling weapons in the game. Now that I know he can get up here, all I have to do is climb, and I trust that he will reset yet again. And of course, that's exactly what happens. You can get one of the best weapons in the game so early just by going here and doing this. There's literally no challenge at all. Now moving northeast, we're going to the Altus Plateau, specifically to the Altus Highway Junction. This one in particular took me a while to figure out a strategy because a lot of the terrain around here is just pretty flat. However, after pulling the boss, I move on to a nearby barricade and find out I have some help here as the pumpkin starts smashing into the Knight's Cavalry as well. Now, they didn't fight like this the entire time, but they were intentionally hitting each other for a second. Gave us a little bit of extra damage. Unfortunately, my perch on top of the fence was not safe like I was expecting it to be, but the fence itself worked incredibly well. There was these holes that I could shoot through, and because the fence itself was so wide, the Knight's Cavalry had a really hard time finding any of the openings. Like, he would run a direction just against the wall, which would let me just get free shots in. If he managed to get outside, I would just run inside and stand on his tent. If he came inside, I would just run outside. And I kept this ring around the rosy going for quite a long time. Now, unfortunately, it was very difficult to get poison on him. I missed probably 100 shots here. But towards the end of our battle, he got stuck on a tent inside, and then our bro, the pumpkin, came back over and started smashing into him again. I felt pretty good about this strategy when everything was said and done. The fence actually kept me really safe throughout the entire thing. Next, we're going to be heading directly east again towards the Forbidden Lands. I actually didn't know about this Knight's Cavalry or the one after this throughout all of my playthroughs. Never stumbled upon them. I mean, I suppose part of the reason for that could just be how thick the snow is here. I mean, I literally walked right on top of this guy and didn't even notice my first time. However, this Knight's Cavalry station right next to some old ruins. You probably get where this is going by now. I jumped up onto the ruins, and just like some of the other knights from before, once he was poisoned, he basically just gave up. He does have a vertical swing that can hit me through there, but he opts not to use it anymore and goes and just stands behind this tree so I can hit him nonstop. Remember people were saying this game was too hard? I wanted to give this guy more of a chance. I literally sat down, hoping he could figure out a way to get on top of this ruin and get to me. However, victory was claimed by me long ago. For our next stop, you are going to need the secret Halig medallion to get over here, but we're heading towards the inner consecrated snowfield, specifically to right about where this marker is. This time, we're not just fighting one of the Knight's Cavalry, but two that are protecting a caravan in the area. This was another example of a Knight's Cavalry that I didn't even know existed, and I was pretty intimidated by it. I've had some trouble juggling just one of these dudes. Now we have to fight two at once. Luckily for me, we found the caravan pretty quick, and there was a ledge nearby. I knew exactly what to do. Somehow that attack didn't hit me, but only hit Torrent. Thanks for taking one for the team, bud. There we go. If I could stand on this small ledge and convince the both of them to fall down, maybe that'll turn off their AI just like before. And for a little bit, it worked. I was actually able to get poison on one of these dudes as they were just sitting here. But they started roaming all over the place very soon after this. And because the smoke was so thick, the fog, the snow, whatever it is, I was having an incredibly hard time just tracking these guys. In fact, if I didn't have poison on them, I would have had no idea where they went in this fog. Eventually, they started to get pretty docile, just kind of walking around the area. No more urgency, no more running, just letting me line up my shots. God, I cannot aim in this game, and poison them up again. I think what was happening here is they are coded to protect the caravan. But because I had taken so long with this, honestly, at this point, we're 6 minutes into this fight. Because I've taken so long with this, the caravan kept moving away from them, but they're scripted to protect the caravan, so they just started walking towards it again and completely ignoring me. Even disappearing off of their mounts at one point. I had to go take a closer look. You can clearly see both of them vanished, but their horses stayed on the ground. Now I'm off the high ground here. Any other of the Knights Cavalry would have just charged me at this point. I'm fighting on an equal playing field as them. But because the caravan is so far away, they just keep leashing back to the range of the caravan. I was feeling really bold by the end of this. I thought I had cracked the code, so I move up into melee range, just getting pot shots super close to these guys. They fake me out every now and then that they're about to attack. They're almost like checking me, but they never follow through with any of their threats. And I'm able to get the win, no problem. This one was insane to me. This one, they were completely broken. Oh, and just for good measure, disappearing one more time before the final blow. I even shot an arrow right there. He does not exist until you look away and he comes back. And just like that, our little challenge to cheese every Knights Cavalry in the game has been concluded. I still have a ton of fun ideas for videos I want to make for Elden Ring, so if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to see our future content as well. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. I'll see you again soon.